Good morning. We are here from the Jewish Council of North Central Florida with Mr. Maxwell Smart. And Max, we are so honored to have you with us. We thoroughly were moved by the movie that we saw just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago at this point. And we have some questions that people have been waiting to hear the answers. So I'm going to start with a few questions, and then Jenna is going to take over because we had some questions from the audience and we are acting on their behalf. So what I wanted to ask you first was, what is your response to the current rise in anti-Semitism and hatred that we are seeing today? And how would you advise future generations to respond to this, given your experience in history?
It's a good question. Anti-Semitism, as far as I remember, was strictly a religious phenomenon. It had nothing to do with anti-Semitism it had to do as a hatred towards Jews, a religious hatred based in the older generation. Today's anti-Semitism changed. It went from the older generation of being a Jew. Anti-Semitism became a different phenomenon. It became a hatred of a nation, a hatred of the existence of the Jews in total. It became from river to sea, eliminate every single living Jew in the world, get rid of him. And it switched from the older generation to schools, to children, to younger generation started to hate. It is a worst ever, this system today, than ever it was before. And what we can do, I have no idea. It is because anti-Semitism, the word anti-Semitism existed thousands of years, but it was not such a big thing. It was just a hatred, a religious hatred. Today, it is not a religious hatred. It is a hatred of the nation. It is a hatred in total. And this is dangerous. This is more dangerous than it was before.
From your experience, is there any advice that you would give to future generations or current generations? I mean, it's very scary that you said you don't know what we should do, but then again, none of us know. So from your heart, is there anything that you would want to say to the current and the future generations based on your experience?
Well, what could be done? What could be done is strictly schooling. We have to teach in schools the hatred. They have to remove the hatred. They have to remove the existence. They have to educate. The schools should be able to educate people of what happened and what's happening presently, not the anti-Semitism of the past. How the schooling system works, I think the governments have to be involved. And I think the government are not really with the Jews in total, except now that we have a different government in the state. Maybe something will change.
Possibly. So I'm looking at the art over your shoulder. Is that one of your pieces?
Yes.
Okay. It's gorgeous. My eyes were drawn to it, even though I'm focusing on you. So that leads to my question about, how did your love for drawing and art help you to survive in the forest?
You know, I was actually probably born with a talent, with a talented art, because my art is not an art that you could really see what it is. It is a art of thought, of not so much thought, as imagination. And this imagination really helped me survive. This imagination that I could convert myself into something that is imaginary. I lived in a world of imagination. The only visible things for 2 years was the sky. In the sky, I saw freedom. In the sky, I saw movements. In the sky, I saw beauty. I didn't see hatred. I see calmness. And this made a very big impression on me. And it disconnected me from reality. And instead of living my misery of hunger, cold, and danger, I lived peacefully and wandering freely in the woods, in the sky, traveling, seeing the world in a different perspective. I saw the world in beauty more than in reality.
That's a beautiful description. My mind could picture you in the woods based on the movie from what you said. So let's go back for a second before the war. Could you please share some of your fondest memories of your family before the war?
Well, I must say, I was a good-looking boy, but not a good-looking boy, but not a good-looking kid. I was really being punished by my father. There was no such a thing like today. You send them to school. My schooling was very short. I only finished 7 grades in school. I went to a private school. I have friends, not Jewish friends. Most of the friends were not Jewish, but we had fun. I liked the kids. I was not a nice kid, like nice in looks. I like to go to steal apples. I like to do bad things. Maybe I even like to smoke a cigarette, which is not really done in my time. And for this, my father used to punish me. And he was quite rough with me. But being rough, actually, I appreciated very much his roughness and his being very strict with me. It helped me after the war because I was left by myself, one person alive, from a family of 62 people. How do you come to be able to manage life by itself? I came to Canada, I was about 18 years old, without a family, without schooling. The Jewish Congress of Canada brought me in. Okay, but when they bring in a child like me, they had a responsibility. Send him to school, do something with him.
Talk about your
But
brother and
no,
sister.
no, they did not. They did not concentrate on me. They sent me to work. They sent me to a store. I became a shipper. I had to finish school. I had to do it on my own. I checked every single possible free course that there was available in Canada. And I took the courses. I had to educate myself in writing, in speech, in living. I had to do all the things by myself. So how do you go back and do that? I had to go back to my past, to my father, by being that time as a child strict to me. I had to analyze that I did wrong and I have to do right. And he was a successful man too. And I followed him.
Thank you for explaining that. He really prepared you and gave you great strength.
And this makes a very big matter.
I'm going to let Jenna ask a few questions, including from some young people that were in the audience. So she'll tell you who the questions are from and how old they were, and they are eagerly awaiting your answers. Jenna, are your mic open?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Mac.
Hi.
I'm going to mute myself and I'll say goodbye at the end.
I first just want to thank you so much for being here. And I just want to say my son is almost 13, and we connected with your story so much. And we're just so grateful that we could bring it to the community. The first question is from Jacob Zinn. He is 9 years old. And he asked, what happened to Yasko and his family? Did you stay in touch with them after the war?
It's a good question. And it's a very hard question to answer because I have no idea. I only know what happened to the family slightly. Because after the war, when I was liberated, I had no chance anymore to return to the place where I was hiding, because in the movement in Europe, it was very quick. People were going to Israel, people were traveling to Italy, people were traveling to the United States. Nobody went home because there were no homes. There were no home. I had nothing to do anymore in my home. I had nothing to go to. So I had to go forward. And Yashko disappeared from my mind for a while until I settled in Canada. When I settled in Canada, I started to think about Yashko. I didn't know about Yashko until the film was made, until the movie started. Before the movie, we had a History Channel, a documentary about me. The documentary was done by Rebecca Snow, a filmmaker, and she had to find out my past. So she went back to the Polish village. She went back to where Yashko was living. She went back to the places that I was born. And she knew more about me that I remember about myself. And this is what she said. Yashko was taken to Germany to work. He disappeared. The children died. He had 2 children. I think she found out that one of them was alive. They couldn't find him. And Yashko was out of my reach until today. I have no idea what happened. I tried very hard to find out. I couldn't.
Maybe the sun.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so sad to hear that you never connected with him, but I know you're grateful for all the skills that he taught you. I know he taught you how to kill a rabbit and how to find the mushrooms and helped you learn how to survive in the woods. So thank you. Our next question is from Jack Haller, and he is 12 years old. And he asked, what was Yannick like? What kind of person was he? Did he have dreams?
I'll tell you something. Yannick, I remember, because Yannick was, and if you want to know really my thought about Yannick was not real. Yannick was God-sent angel. Without Yannick, if Yannick wouldn't appear, I would have been gone. because I didn't want to live. I wasn't interested anymore in my life, because my life is not possible to survive. Hunger, cold, misery. They were hunting me like an animal in the woods. I couldn't survive on my own. Yannick was sent by God to me to keep me company until the last day before I was really liberated. Yeah, and Yannick was taken away from me. This was the biggest and the most hurtful thing that happened to me. He was a beautiful, charming young boy, maybe 2 years younger than me. He was not, for him, it was worse. He would have not survived with my help. But he didn't survive anyways, because he died. He died in the bunker. And he
So
was
sad that he passed away, but I'm so happy that you had that connection with him.
Yeah.
And you had kept each other company and kept each other going. And
He kept me company. He made my life easier.
our next question is from Dylan Price, and this is my sweet boy chick. This is my boy chick. He's 12 years old, and he asked, "What happened to your father?"
My father, I lost my father right in the very beginning of the war, innocently, because we didn't know the idea of the Germans that they murder and kill. We had no idea what kind of people the Germans were. We had no idea who the Germans were. They made an announcement that all the people of Bucharest in my city, men especially, to register for labor. It's an innocent thing. Every man from 18 to 35 or 40 went to register, definitely to labor. At the registry, they segregated the men. They segregated the intelligentsia, the storekeepers, doctors, lawyers on one side. They segregated the laborers on the other side. They let the laborers go, and they loaded up the intelligentsia on trucks. They put them away, not very far in Bucharest.
Look in the camera.
And Feather Hill. They load them up and they shot him. And I lost my father right maybe a month after the Germans came in. And I was left with my father, my mother, my sister alone.
I'm so sorry to hear that. That must have been so difficult for you to lose your father so early. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And I was starting to be the breadwinner of the family.
Yes, the little man, the little man.
The man.
Said. Okay, this next question is from John and Sandy Schuster. And they asked, how did the Jewish baby that you helped get adopted? Do you know how she got adopted by a family, or what happened?
The Jewish baby.
The Jewish baby that you saved?
Adopted.
It was a little bit different than the film, the continuation of the baby. The baby survived. The baby survived, I don't know, in the book that I write, that I wrote, my book, The Boy in the Woods, I explained what happened to the baby. I gave, in reality, the baby to her, to the auntie.
Yeah.
In the book. Now, the auntie took, the auntie, which was hiding also in the woods, kept the baby, and the baby survived the war. They went to Israel.
Look inside.
They went to Israel, and she created a life for herself. She had children, grandchildren, and I went to visit them in the woods in Israel, and I saw her. She was old, she was sick, but she had a family, and I'm happy for her that somehow I was connected to somebody and saved somebody's life, that produced a life which will exist and continue to thrive and continue to be represented of her.
Thank you. And how amazing that you were able to reconnect with her so many years later. And I'm so in awe of just the courage you had at 13 to save a baby's life. It's amazing that you did that.
Thank you.
Next, we just have some comments from some audience members. This comment is from Payson. She's age 13. And she said she is so sorry that you were treated that way and that you had to live through the experiences that you did. The next comment is from Helen Frankel, and she is a child of Holocaust survivors. She said your story reminded her so much of her mother's story. She also had to hide in the woods by herself, and she was then helped by a farmer and reunited with her sister. And that's all the questions and comments that we have from the audience today. We're so grateful that we were able to meet with you and spend some time with you today. Thank you so much, Max.
Max,
I
thank
wanna-
you so
Jenna.
much. Thank you so much.
Okay, I want to thank you for having me and telling you something about my life. I try very hard to keep
Look in the
what happened alive and keep what happened in telling my story. It is important for me, very important. I spend my life to go to schools and tell the story to children. I go to universities. I go to many places,
Look in the camera.
and I explain how what hatred could do to people. And I try my best to see.
Well, we appreciate your efforts, Max, and we are also trying to pick up what you have done with your efforts. And in our way, in our little part of the world, we are also trying to teach Jews and non-Jews alike. And now we have this wonderful recording, and we can share it with our community and students that we teach. And you really have done so much you've given us so much, and we appreciate it.
And I want to thank you very much for having me.
Jenna.
Well, thank you, Max, and we hope that we will be in touch. And thank you again, and thank you, Tina, and thank you, Winnie, for helping us with this. Jenna, thank you, and stay warm up there in Canada. And if there's anything we can ever do for you, Winnie knows how to find us, and we would love to be of some sort of help to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Jenna.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Max.
Thank you. Bye, Tina.
Bye-bye.